So thou, O son of man, I have set thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore, thou shalt hear the word of my mouth, and warn them from me.
Have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather expose them.
Coming to you from an undisclosed location in Middle Tennessee and examining current events from a biblical perspective, this is Bible News Radio with your hosts, Randall and Stacy Harp.
Everybody, thank you so much for coming into this episode of, well, usually it's Free for All Friday, but you know what? Today, I have an awesome guest. Yeah, I do. And I hope that you guys stay for this whole show because it is going to be, it's going to open your eyes to the power of our words. That's right, people. And you might get a little nutrition lesson in here as well. So do me a favor and share this out. Whatever platform you're on, if you're on Periscope, Facebook, or YouTube, feel free to tweet that out. Share it out on Facebook. Don't forget, you guys can also hit that subscribe button. Yeah, you can. And subscribe, okay? Because you don't want to miss any of our shows. You know, this morning I was writing my email because I do that every day now because it was a commitment that I made to myself at the beginning of the year. Which reminds me, by the way, if you haven't joined my email list, go over to BibleNewsRadio.com. Our new site is up. There is a few glitches in there, but you know what? That's all right. Don't worry about those. Just sign up for the email. Yeah. And then get it. Because I write stuff in it every day. Yeah, I do. Because I could. Just so you know, my internet is unstable. But anyway, hey, let me say hi to some of you in here. JM4 from Sweden. Thank you for coming in, Mr. And Melanie. Thank you for coming in. Angela, nice to have you here. Advar, thank you for coming back. Hope New Jersey's treating you well. Kelly DeVille, thanks for coming in. Little Jimmy too, nice to be there. Daryl. And if this is your first time, tell me where you're coming in from. Daryl, I have no idea who you are. Or do I? That's right, people. Don't you love this music? You're coming in from Ohio. We have a lot of people in Ohio that tune in. So that's very cool. Dayton, Ohio. Cool. All right. So those of you who are on Facebook, if you show up later, feel free to leave a comment. Just in case you hear the past words I said, then you can do that. But, you know, just saying. All right, so I was thinking about our show today. I probably should have got me some water before I started. Wait, I have this much left. Hold on a second. That's his girl. There was a time when Randall and we were dating. Randall had a pickup truck with no air conditioning. It was a Toyota truck. We were driving down the street one day, and I rolled down the window, and I spit out the window. I went, and I hawked it. That's just really spit out the window. I was proud of that. Because I wasn't about to swallow it all. I'll never forget what Randall says to me. He turns to me and goes, "That's my girl." Oh, it was so funny. Anyway, it was funny. Seriously. Another time when me and Randall were eating dinner for one of our first dates, I ate my whole dinner. And Randall says to me, "You ate your whole dinner." He said, "You know how unusual it is? I take a girl out and buy her food and she doesn't eat most of it." And I'm like, "You ain't going to have to worry about that with me, just so you know." Anyway, that was for free. Okay, so here's the deal, people. Okay, sign up for my email address. Or don't sign up for my email address. Sign up for my email. And hearts and stars, welcome to the show, too. And if you're on Periscope, give all the hearts you can because, you know, share the love, people. Am I at 17 million yet or whatever it is? I don't even know what I'm at. 14 million? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Here's the deal, though. Usually on Free for All Friday, we just talk about whatever we feel like it. Today, we're going to talk about whatever we feel like. But I had a conversation with my friend Denise Smith a couple of weeks ago because she's taken me through this nutrition thing. I am a guinea pig, people. I am. Disguised as Stacy with big fluffy hair. Anyway. Anyway, Denise is helping me. I'm helping her. I guess we're kind of helping each other. Anyway, during the time I was talking to her, she showed me this experiment that she did with rice. Okay. Now, this is interesting because rice is an inanimate object. It's yeah, or is it? No. Anyway, and long story short, it's very interesting. I told Denise, I said, hey, I need you to show this to our audience because it's completely insane. So let me give you, okay, we're close to 14 million. All right. Thanks for putting that in there, you guys. So we're 13,829,000, give or take. Can you believe people have tapped the screen 13,829,000 times for this show? That's insane. You guys are crazy. But I feel the love, people. I feel it. Okay, anyway. So Denise, back to Denise. So Denise is my guest tonight, Denise Smith. She is a wonderful person. She's gone through a lot of health challenges in the last couple of years. And so if you have never heard her story, we're going to share a little bit of that. And we're going to have Denise share with us how this rice experiment thingy came about so that you can see this. Because trust me, you are not going to want to miss this. I mean, anyway. So, Denise, come on the screen. Welcome to our show. What's this, your third or fourth time? I can't remember.
Oh, I can't remember either. It's a joy to be here. Thank you for inviting me on.
Yeah, and the thing is, we actually have met in person, so that's very cool. That you and me actually have hugged each other and stuff. I appreciate that. I haven't hugged all my guests, just so you know. But anyway, so give people a little bit background about yourself and also the website where they can go and learn more about you during the show.
Sure. Well, I am not only your friend, but I am a certified nutritional therapy practitioner, and I do run a website and blog. And a Facebook community called BeTheWell.com. It's BeTheWell.com. BeTheWell.com. But, I got started as an unwilling volunteer through this health journey. We've all had certain things that happened to us, and that happened to me. I ended up getting sick years ago, and it's been quite the journey. It's been a journey of discovery and unfolding, and here I am. And I'm grateful, super grateful to be here, be able to talk with you, and to be able to help other people to transform their lives as well.
Yeah, very cool. Well, I love you, and we have a very cool relationship, and I appreciate it. I know I gotta look at the camera. It's all right, people. I'm looking deep into your camera face. Yeah, I am. Anyway, John, welcome to the broadcast. I see John. Yeah, I do. And I see Jeffrey. Yeah, I do. Hi, Jeff. And if Skittles is there, tell her I said hi too. And Jay Ayana, and I don't know who else is coming in. But anyway, all right. So do you think we should just jump into it and explain this rice experiment thingy? Because I think this is so cool, and I really want people to see this because it's super cool.
Well, sure. And, my background to getting to this point in time happened through my journey of discovery with getting better myself. Mm-hmm. And I remember one time my doctor was telling me about how the mind is so powerful, and that, there's been studies showing that people can overcome deadly illnesses and diagnosis just by turning their brain into a more positive shift. And so I started listening to what my doctor was talking about and thinking, can it really be true? I mean, are we the sum total of bacteria, viruses, and cells, or is there more to it? Is there intention that is a driving force? And I personally started digging into books like Switch Your Brain On, or Switch On Your Brain by Caroline Leaf.
I have it.
Amazing book, talking about the power of intention. The Bible even talks about intention, in so many different ways. But then I started doing a program with Annie Hopper, and it was called Dynamic Neural Retraining. Again, reframing the brain to a more positive shift. I even started doing things, this is going to look really ugly, but this is a paper that I did called, I don't know if you can see that, I am. And, I started writing positive affirmations. I am comfortable around people. I'm connected emotionally. I am strong. I am positive. I am energetic. I love life. I'm joyful. I'm vibrant. I'm self-confident and successful. And I kept saying those things over and over as if they were, because at that point I was very sick and I didn't know what tomorrow would hold. So that whole background, God brought me in, it was baby steps of discovery. Because if you had told me that my mind was so powerful years ago, I would have gone, I don't know. I don't know. So God was kind of layering on or bringing me through these steps that then it brought me to the place where I am now, to the rice experiment. All right. So my doctor started telling me about this PhD researcher in Japan. His name is Dr. Masaru Emoto, and he was doing experiments with water droplets and the power of intention. So what he was doing was going into these inanimate objects, droplets of water, and speaking kind things to the water as it was freezing. And these patterns of crystalline structure would just fan out in these beautiful, ornate, almost snowflake-like patterns. And he would do the same thing then conversely, speaking hatred and evil and, poor intentions to water, freezing it and finding fractured, shard-like patterns to the frozen crystals. So then I found it, and he did that as a lifelong thing. He studied patterns and intentions for 20 years and repeated those studies over and over. And I know that sounds kind of really interesting. Inanimate objects, can they respond to your intention? And then I stumbled across in our homeschool journey a rice experiment. So it's fascinating because what we did was we put some organic rice in a cooker, we cooked up the rice, we sterilized 3 jars and all the equipment that went with it, and we put 1 cup of rice into each jar and labeled 1 love, 1 hate, and 1 ignored. And then it sounds crazy, but we invited the love rice to come sit at our table every day when we did homeschool lessons. And we spoke to the love rice and told it how much it was appreciated and how lovely it looked for the day and how valued it was. And we were so happy that it was joining us that day. And we felt crazy because rice is not alive as far as our consciousness goes, nor does it have ears. And so I know when I shared with you this experiment, you must have also been going, okay, this is nuts, but here's the results, right? Which one do you want to see first?
Well, before you show anything, because I've already seen the results, I have to share a couple of things. First of all, the Bible talks about how life and power, or life and death, are in the power of the tongue. And, I know this sounds maybe a little bit of new agey type stuff, but I can assure you that Denise is not a new ager. She's a committed follower of Jesus Christ, and this isn't new age wacko-ness, okay? No offense if you're a new ager, but just saying. And the Bible is very clear that that as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. And the science of neuroplasticity is actually a very real science, which Dr. Caroline Leaf talks a lot about that. And I know just from my background as a therapist and studying the brain just a little bit that you can literally change the patterns in your brain, you know, to you can change it, you know, because the Bible says in Romans 12:2 to not be conformed to this world, but to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And I've shared this before. In the Greek, it actually says that word transformed it's actually the oomph behind it is to be continually transformed. So, you know, it's a continual process. So how we speak to ourselves impacts us, you know, how we speak to other people impacts them. In fact, I got a revelation from Ephesians 4:29, which says, "Let no unwholesome word proceed out of your mouth, but only such a word that's good for edification, according to the need of the moment, so that it might give grace to those who hear." I memorized that years ago because I swore sometimes, and I was like, okay, I need to change my thinking on this. But the Lord actually showed me when I initially memorized that verse, I was always thinking about other people and how they hear it. I never thought about how I heard it, but when I say these things, you know, I hear it too, just like you hear everything that you hear. So anyway, so there is a biblical basis for how we speak impacting us and also other people. And so this is why I wanted to throw that out there. So anyway, so Denise did this experiment. She showed me the results that she did, and that's why I asked her on the show, because I think it's super interesting. All right. So
yeah, and so this experiment, we used the same batch of rice, 3 separate jars, all sterilized. Now, I am not a scientist. I don't have a hood, you know, special, you know, laboratory or anything like this. This was just a home experiment. We did it for 30 days, and then actually it stretched out to 60. We've just finished our 60-day mark. And it could be that it's actually the malt that's in the jars that are responding to intention. I don't know, but it's fascinating because we got 3 distinctly different results.
Yeah, you got to see this. This is so cool. Okay, go for it. So show the love one first.
Okay, love.
Yeah.
This is our love rice. And it's so sweet, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I love that rice.
Yeah, it's so sweet. You can see that it's completely covered in a white blanket of mold, and it appears to be very happy. Okay, I don't know. Maybe it's my interpretation.
And this is 2 months old, right?
This is 2 months old. Yes.
Okay.
Let's see if I can put that in front of the camera there.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay.
No. But when you showed it to me a couple of weeks ago, you said that you could still, it looks like you might still want, you could eat it kind of, right? Maybe.
Yes. And it is kind of changed a little bit. I wouldn't even dare to tempt that. Don't try this at home. Don't eat it at home.
Yeah.
Don't eat this. You might get very sick from that. But anyways, we appreciate the love rice. All right. The next jar of rice is
No, it's cooked rice jam. This is cooked rice, okay?
Yes,
yeah.
Cooked rice. Cooked rice. And it's split into different jars. The next jar of rice is the hate rice. Now, what is interesting about this is that I'm going to turn it around so you can see that it is dark, and it is clumpy, and it is really decayed, might be the best word. Mm-hmm. You know what's really interesting too is that we use the same measurement of rice in each jar. The girls made the observation that this particular jar is heavier than the rest. So I got my digital scale out, and sure enough, this jar of rice is 2 ounces heavier than the other 2 jars. Now, I don't know if we measured incorrectly or not, but it's fascinating to me that is it possible that this is weighted down? It's bearing its own burden, right? It just seems like it's all I don't know. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
And when we talked to this rice, we did tell it that it had no value, it had no worth, it was ugly, it was disgusting. Sometimes we would just yell at it. Sometimes we would ignore it. It did not have a part at our table. Now, I want to show you the differences. Distinctly different jars of rice. And you can see it more maybe on the bottom on this one. This one's, the love rice is starting to get a little gooey at the bottom, but you can really see the dark coloring on that hate rice. Distinctly different.
Doesn't it make you feel sad, you guys? When I look at it, I feel totally sad for the hate rice. I do. I feel all this empathy towards it.
Well, I originally heard this this experiment on a YouTube channel called Truthstream Media, and they said that sometimes they would run out of hate words and they would just hiss at it. So we even tried to hiss at it at times. So anyhow, but what I found incredibly fascinating was the ignored rice. Look at that. See how dark that is?
Yeah, it almost looks like kind of like a coal or a granite or something.
Now, I find this even more fascinating because we had this ignored rice sitting off in a corner. We didn't touch it. We didn't talk to it. Nothing. No interaction whatsoever until Stacy Lynn, you and I talked.
Right. And this is interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
And I remember I said to you at that time, I don't know if I'm going to mess up this experiment or not by touching this rice and moving it over so that you can see it. And I showed it to you. It was black as night, right?
Yep.
Totally black.
Yep.
And then I set it down next to my desk, and I went on and I was going to put it away that night. And I looked down at it and I went, there's a white spot on here. And I was like, wow. And now, I don't know if you can see this or not, but look at the white spot that happened.
Yep.
On the ignored rice.
Because you paid attention to it.
It's very interesting. And so here we go. I'm going to see if I can put these up.
Hi Kim Wendy. Welcome to Facebook. This is an instant. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So this is the hate rice, which has a combination of kind of grays and whites. And then here is the ignored rice. See the difference?
Mm-hmm.
The ignored rice is distinctly darker. And then you've got the love rice, which is a stark difference between the ignored and the love. I find this very fascinating.
All right. So put a 1 if you find this fascinating, or put a comment in the at Facebook, because I totally find it fascinating. Here are some damaging words. Okay, I'm not going to read that out loud. Yes, Lord, I surrender has joined. Thank you. This is totally cool to me. I mean, it's totally, totally cool. I've seen stuff like this, but it was with water and how it changed the molecule. Yeah, you came in a little bit late. Kim, Denise was talking about how the guy that actually did this experiment did it with water and, the different patterns as a result. So, yeah, and apparently this has also been done with apples, right?
I believe so. Yeah. I've not personally done that experiment, but I've heard of it.
Yeah. Now, you can actually go to YouTube and you can Google the rice experiment, and you can see a whole bunch of people have done this, and the results are very similar to what Denise's is. So, yeah. So JM says, now you know why children die when they're unloved. And this is the thing, especially as a therapist, that really, really got to me when I saw this experiment with rice, is that if the Bible's true, and I believe it is, life and death are in the power of the tongue. A lot of us grew up in very abusive homes. I did. I grew up in a very, very abusive home, and was devalued and yelled at and told a whole bunch of horrible, rotten things my whole life. And, I have to tell you that, if this is visual representation of the impact it has on our spirit and our soul, just who we are as people. If it does it to a inanimate object like rice, what does it do to us, right, Denise?
I would agree with that. And early on in my young adult life, I worked in a hospital. Mm-hmm. And one of my jobs was to go into the neonatal intensive care unit and hold infants that had been abandoned. And the reason why they had people coming in to hold those infants was because of the same reason, is that when they're ignored, there's failure to thrive. They need to be held. They need to be talked to and loved. And just as this ignored rice is, I can only imagine a poor infant who is not nurtured and loved too. And what would that, from the very beginning of their life, what kinds of patterns does that impress upon them?
Yeah, well, and I have a friend at pickleball. That's what he does. He goes and he holds the babies that need to be held. But I mean, even the difference between hate and ignore is stark. It's like it's better to be hated than ignored, right? That's why solitary confinement is such a punishment, right? Because of that. Because solitary confinement, they do that as a punishment. Why? Because we were born to be connected with other people, and and all that. So
if you just joined us, the darkest color is the ignored, and then the lighter gray is the hate. And that's my takeaway from it also, was that, I think the hate would rather have some interaction than nothing at all. And versus the ignored rice is just ignored. It's just dark, but it has hope, which is just fascinating.
Well, yeah. And it's fascinating to me that because you paid attention to it, showing it to me that the ignored rice started to get white on it.
Yeah.
And which also to me it kind of goes, all right, well, so which means to me, I'm having a hard time talking, that, okay, if you begin to pay attention to something that's ignored, there's like new life that's breathed into it, right? And that transformation could take place over time, that they could come to life. At least that's the application that I'm getting. And Dr. John, who's a psychologist in Canada who tunes into the show, he said that's exactly right. What we do to ourselves and what other people do to us with their words, it's amazing. So if we could start looking at people as rice jars, love, hate, and ignore, wouldn't it be interesting to see what color they are? You know what I mean? Because people who are loved tend to be bright and cheery. People who are ignored tend to be depressed and dark and gloomy, and they want to kill people. People who are hated, it's the same thing. It's I don't know. I just find it super fascinating.
Well, and I think also that we, as the experimenters, had the intent to put forth our words. And I think in today's society, there's, we're inundated with media that is negative. And it's so easy to have into our bodies. And number one, what is that doing to us? But then number two, what are we doing to project out? And in a world that is hurting, is it possible that we can intentionally give positive, I don't know what you call it, positive vibrations, positive feedback to the world, so that you can be a bright light. You can be the white rice. You can be that light into a very dark world. And you're right. The other side of it is, what are we doing to ourselves? Is there that internal dialogue that is, do we have that internal dialogue that is causing us to struggle? And if that's the case, then we need to purposefully work on those intentions, just as I showed you at the beginning of our show, just as I wrote these intentions down over and over and over, writing them down over and over, I actually trained like an Olympic athlete, and I wrote my intentions down, filled up an entire page every single day, showing showing myself value. Because when you are chronically ill, sometimes we own that illness. And what I mean by that is I am sick, or you put the I am, and so you claim it and you're owning it. What if we said instead, I am bright, I am vibrant, I am strong, I am, claiming what God's design is for us, instead of claiming the illness and the disease and I'm not saying that there's I'm not sure what, help me out here, Stacy Lynn. I'm not saying that it is that you caused the illness. I'm not saying that at all.
Right. Well,
but
yeah, go ahead.
But in the same sense, what I am saying is that you can mentally rise above it.
Right. Well, they've done studies with Viktor Frankl and Holocaust survivors and people like that who, they've studied people that having to do with the issue of resilience, right? Okay, because we come into this life, it's a sinful world. We're going to get hit with different things. And the thing is why can some people bounce back better than other people, right? And I think a lot of it has to do with how we approach it with our attitude, right? I mean, that's really what it is, how we frame it. I have this thing where I always talk about the frame, and I actually talk about this in my Unstuck Club, to reframe things. If I have a great looking picture, but I put a lousy frame on it, your eyes can be drawn to the ugly frame going, why is this ugly frame on this nice picture? But if you put a really nice frame on a beautiful picture, it just accentuates the picture and it becomes part of the picture. And, there's nothing negative drawn away from it. So it's how we reframe things, how we choose. God gave us a free will to choose how we think. And I'll give you a perfect example. A couple of days ago, I was not feeling so hot. I was feeling sick to my stomach. My foot was bugging me. As you guys know, I love playing pickleball. And I go and I hang out with my friends and, blah, blah. And I was just like, I feel horrible. And then I started feeling depressed. And I was like, I was nauseated and everything. And I'm like this, I don't know what's wrong, but I'm feeling sick. And I started to feel myself literally go down and feel like, and then get into that despair type mode. And I remember thinking, wait a minute, wait just a second here, hold it, and I instituted not today, bully, not today. And I basically said, wait just a second, I'm not really that sick. My foot will get better. You need to build a bridge and get over this, girlfriend, and just thank God for your health and put your focus on Jesus and the fact that he loves you, and and maybe you just need a couple of days of rest. And sure enough, that perspective, that shift and change, and I feel better today. I woke up, my ankle wasn't hurting as much, and I went and played pickleball. I have over 10,000 steps today, so I feel back to my normal self. But I could have wallowed. I could have stayed in bed. I could have put the dark light on and the covers over my head, but I didn't. But it was a choice. I had to do it when I didn't feel like doing it. And a lot of people, they get, how do I say this? A lot of people, they learn that it's learned helplessness, right? So they learn to be helpless. They learn that, if I'm feeling this way, somebody will come and feel sorry for me, or they'll take care of me. And this is the only way that they get the attention that they want, rather than go out and try to connect with people in a healthy way. And I know John just mentioned, attachment issues, between 1 and 6. It's huge. If you have an unhealthy attachment or a disrupted attachment or, an abusive attachment in those formative years, it can really, really mess up who you are. and how you interact with people. That's why a lot of people have borderline personality where they're pushing and pulling. And I can see it in people. I see it. I know people that do it. People that watch this show do it. You know, they'll do something and then, no, I pull away. It's like, oh, no, there's a crisis. Oh, you know, I'm here for you. No. I'm like, no, you're used to your chaos. So you have to learn to get used to stability. And that's the challenge, because it takes time to change and get comfortable with something you're uncomfortable with. I could go on, but I thought I'd let you talk.
Well, and I just know from my own personal journey is, I was sick for about 7 years, and at a point in my life, I just kind of rolled over and said, all right, okay, here I am. God used me. And I think that's valid, but I also claimed it. You know, I'm sick, therefore I can't. And that I repeated that over and over. And again, there's a fine line. We know that there's people that are sick that can't. But I think there was this mental shift that had to happen for me to rise up out of the depths of that. And so I'm grateful for the journey, because it's made me more aware than ever before. It's made me stronger. It's made me tougher. It's made me more aware, and it's made me more loving and accepting of others. And so I'm not sharing this in any way to pass judgment on people at all, but just to offer an awareness that perhaps in your own life, it might be good to introspect. And, are you thinking of hope versus the despair that you're in? And, just shifting your mindset to I am, not I hope for, but I am.
Yeah.
And, doing that shift. And I also have to say too, this is not a, if you are struggling with your health, absolutely go see a healthcare provider. That's absolutely, you have to do that. But this is just a way to raise your awareness that you can shift into a better mental state by just dwelling on the positive and giving the positive out to others. What a gift you can be, again, to a struggling world.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. And it's not, it's not this new agey I am God, not like, Shirley MacLaine or anything. It's basically, saying, what, I'm thankful for fill in the blank. You know what? I'm thankful that, I'm thankful I have a pair of shoes I can wear even though my ankle hurt, on the pickleball court as an example. And by the way, Denise plays pickleball, probably not as much as me, but she does play. On the pickleball court, I taught some of my friends who play, who were getting really down on themselves when they missed the ball, because you really can learn a lot about a person when you play a sport with them, because their self-talk comes out all the time. And like sometimes somebody will go, dang it, I missed that. I suck. Or they'll apologize to the partner. I'm sorry, partner. I didn't mean to do that. And so there's this whole thing with this negative stuff that comes out. And so what I noticed about better pickleball players compared to people who are all over themselves in their head is that if rather than say that negative thing, what they say to the other person that hit the good shot they missed is, hey, that was an awesome shot. Good shot. Man, that was awesome. Do it again. No, I'll get you next time. And you know what? It changes the whole attitude of the game, because you're not out there and you're not, going, oh my gosh, this is crappy. I hate this game. Everybody sucks, just so you know. Right, Pastor Tommy? By the way, Pastor Tommy, that scripture that you posted yesterday rocked. Oh my gosh, that was so awesome. And I hope you got a chance to watch the show. If you didn't, you'll watch it later. The other thing though is I had a friend who, actually, it was my therapist. It was my very first therapist. I remember this very distinctly. I was in therapy 26 years ago. I was a young woman in my early 20s. I think I was like 20. I walked into this therapist's office and I forgot what it was that I said, but I used the word waste. And I think I said something like, why would you waste your time on me? How many of you have said stuff like that to yourself? Yeah, don't waste your time, And I'll never forget what this therapist said to me. She looked over at the trash can in the room and she said, "That's a wastebasket. Trash goes in there. I am not wasting time. You are not waste. You're not crap, okay?" So you got to stop that. So pay attention to what other people say in their words, and always like try to reframe it, because the positives, the negative stuff. Pay attention to the negative and then try to reframe it. Right, Denise? And hey, Pastor Pete, it feels like forever. I feel it's like a family reunion tonight on Bible News Radio. Okay, you guys came in late, so I want to have Denise recap everything that, just in short, because you guys got to see the rice and what happened.
Right. And by the way, pickleball, another story real quick is that I was playing pickleball with a competitive player. I was brand new. And this gentleman turned to me and he said, "So how long have you been playing?" And I said, "Well, honestly, this is my third game." And he said, and he got all droopy and he goes, "All right, I see how this is going to go." And he just put me down and he kept jumping in front of me and grabbing the ball. And I'll tell you what, I felt like this black lumpy rice right there. That was a good example of how I felt it by the end of that game. I wanted to go home and crawl into a closet. And because I was devalued and, anyways, and no judgment on him. I don't know that he really even understood, but for me, that's how I took it. Anyways, all right. So the rice experiment.
Like, can I say something though? Okay.
Sure.
I just have to say something. Oh yeah. Denise plays pickleball. Melanie, when are you going to play, girlfriend? So I can beat you. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'll play on your team. Then we'll beat the other people to death. No, I'm just kidding. We'll give them a run for their money. Just
Words
so
of affirmation.
I know, right? I know. Sorry, all that negative competitiveness. No, but at my pickleball, it's the same thing. There are these cliques, the better players versus the sucky players, right? The not so good player. No, the beginners. And I know exactly what you're talking about because you can feel that energy. People talk about being able to feel energy. It's true. You can walk into a room sometimes and you're like, "Oh my gosh, this is such a great, fun atmosphere." But then other times you walk into a room and you're like, there's an angry, ticked off person. Everybody knows it. They stay away. It's the same thing. So anyway, okay, I just had to say that. Go ahead. Explain the rice.
Right.
This is so cool, you guys.
So this is actually an experiment that's going around on YouTube. And people are having the same results. So I am not an anomaly in any way. And it stems from the research of Dr. Masaru Emoto. I had to look at my paper because I wanted to make sure I said it right. But a Japanese researcher who did the same experiment with the intentions to water droplets, telling these water droplets, which were inanimate objects, that they were loved, valued, they were a part of, they're the best example of water he's ever seen, stuff like that. He even did prayers. He did different Bach, Beethoven music that was real melodic. 20 years, he spent his life following the intentions of water and watching when they froze. If they were these, when they had good intentions said to them, then they were beautiful crystalline snowflake patterns. And conversely, when, ugly things were said and hateful, spiteful things, these water droplets froze into fractionated shard-like images. And so you guys can find that online.
Yeah, and you can actually see the pictures of that too, because they're there. So.
And they're striking, very striking. So then the rice experiment. You take rice. You can have organic, inorganic, it doesn't matter, but you're going to boil up a pot of rice. And then you take ball canning jars or whatever jars you want, sterilize them, sterilize your equipment, have a pot of boiling water and, sterilize everything. Then you're going to put a cup of rice into each of 3 jars, one cup into each jar, seal it up, and then label each jar according to your intention. One is going to be love, one is hate, and one's your control, which is your ignored rice. The ignored rice just set aside in a corner somewhere. And we chose to put the ignored rice in a section of our home that is interacted with. So it's not like in a closet. It was actually in the corner so it could know what was going on, but still wasn't paid attention to.
Right.
So this right here is the results of our ignored rice after 60 days. And actually at about 30 days was actually good enough. But this is 60 days right here. They hate rice. We spoke to it and told it it was not valued. We did not want it at our table. It was ugly. It had ooiness to it, which we found gross and repulsive. And at times we even hissed at it. So this is the hate rice. And you can see that it's multicolored. It has some whiteness, gray, just kind of ickiness to it. And upon the conclusion of our experiment, we found out that the hate rice actually was 2 ounces heavier than the other 2 jars of rice.
Interesting, isn't it? Yeah. It is.
And this is the love rice, distinctly different from any other batch of rice. It had a white coating on it. When we homeschooled, we would set it at our table with us, and we would periodically tell the rice that we loved it, that we were happy it was with us, that this rice made our day brighter. We were so happy that it was a part of our family. And we even stroked the jar and just, gave it hugs and, just told it how wonderful it was. Now, this is very interesting because there is a distinct difference between hate and love, and even more of a striking difference between love and ignored. Look at the difference. I mean, that's black and white. I mean, it literally
is black and white.
Literally. And then for those of you guys who just joined in, I was telling Stacy Lynn a couple of weeks ago, I said, I'm not sure if I'm going to mess up this experiment or not, because I've got this control ignored rice, but you got to see how dark this thing is. And I showed it to her and I said, I'm not sure if I'm going to mess this up because I now just gave it some attention. And I set it aside, and literally that night, it had a white spot on it. And I see it's growing white. And so it got attention. I don't know what to think of this, but I do know that it's a really good example of God's word and God's love for us and us being a light into the world. And goodness, can you imagine driving out darkness with your light?
Yeah.
It's just fascinating.
Isn't Bible News Radio a cool show, people? Yeah, it is. I have the coolest people on, I swear. And you guys are the coolest watchers, of course. Don't you feel better about yourself now? Yeah, you do. Okay, hey, we gotta take a break just for a second before the show ends. I have to tell you that I'm very thankful for Ariel Ministries, and hopefully you guys are too, because they rock and they actually do sponsor our show, and you can go and get 20% off when you use the coupon code Bible News on our new website, BibleNewsRadio.com. It's over on the resources page. If you go over there, you guys, what you're going to see is an amazing resource page. Yeah, you will. It's if you go there on that page, I think Randall will throw it up on the computer, right?
I can't. I wasn't ready to do that.
Okay, don't worry about it then. So this month's Bible teaching by Dr. Arnold Fruchtenbaum, you can usually pay for this, but they're giving it to you for free. It's called Demonology, the Doctrine of Fallen Angels. This is a 42-page PDF Bible study. Go over there and download it. Just click the link, download it, and you will have it. You can print it up. You can keep it on your computer, whatever. Just read about it, and you can get it. Also, the other items on here, History of Zionism and the State of Israel DVD, Introduction to Judaism, Issues in Messianic Jewish Theology, Messiah and the Fall Holy Days of Israel. All you gotta do is click on all these. This is Model Balston's teachings. Just click on them, and you can learn more about each product. And if you want one, these are DVD sets. You can just buy it and save 20% when you use coupon code Bible News. The other thing is there is this application called Bullhorn, which I haven't actually signed official papers for yet, but I did meet them at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention, and they have asked me to be their brand ambassador for the mobile app Bullhorn. And this is a very cool app. It's backed by freeconferencecall.com. And so if you want to follow me on Bullhorn, a couple days ago, I actually interviewed Roma Downey on it, and you can hear that whole interview over there. All you got to do is go to getbullhorn.com or your app store, whatever phone you're on, download it, and then look for my name. It's really easy. It's just me. And Bible News Radio, just follow me. I think Rick Costa has already followed me. And then you can listen to all the Bullhorns that I've already done and join in the conversation, because I'm going to be doing more interviews over there. And it's really exclusive stuff. And the other thing, just so you guys know, I'm trying to do is keep it to under 15 minutes for each one. The way this app works is a little bit different, because when you listen to an actual show, you literally dial with your phone a phone number, because it's used by freeconferencecall.com. So come on over, follow me. The owners are following me. They're watching everything that we're doing. It's a Christian-owned company, and I am very blessed to have met them. And it really was a God thing. And I'll share more later after we get the signed papers. But for now, go follow. Just follow. I put in a devotion and sneak peeks in there every day now, so check that out. And then lastly, but certainly not least, if you want to donate to Bible News Radio and become a pillar of the community, we actually do have a pillar group on Bullhorn as well, and that's secret and private. You can actually set up your own groups. Once you log into your account, you can actually have your own groups and stuff like that too. But if you want to become a pillar, just go over to BibleNewsRadio.com/give and set up your recurring payment through PayPal. And we totally appreciate it. We need more pillars for sure. Definitely. Or donate whenever you feel like, as God leads. And of course, pray for us, because we need all the prayer we can get. We're in some pretty significant life change right now, and I could actually use your extra prayers for some stuff I'm going through with my dad. So if you keep that in mind, I would greatly appreciate it. All right, so my guest today is Denise Smith. Yeah, it is. And she has brought rice to the table. Literally. Some rice she ignored, some rice she hated, literally. And other rice she loved. And we've seen the results, people. The results are in. And I really think, that it's kind of funny, because it's a really interesting visual of the power of your words. Life and death are in the tongue. The power of life and death are in the tongue, and as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. And it looks like we have 1 minute left, so we need to start wrapping this up. So Denise, go ahead, give us some final thoughts.
Well, here we go once again, is that life is in our words and love is in our words. And so we have to be very mindful as believers to transform our thinking into positivity, no matter where we go, to spread forth love and light to others. And I'll invite people to come on over to my website too, and it's bethewell.com. If you are interested in connecting with me, I love connecting with people. So there you go.
All right. Denise Smith is a rock star. Yeah, she is. And don't forget, Philippians 4:8, right? Everybody go look that up. Hopefully all of you know it by now, but if you're not, that's your homework for the weekend. Go look up Philippians chapter 4, verse 8. Read it, put it into practice. And, I would challenge you, a Bible News Radio Rice Challenge. I would challenge you to do this rice challenge yourself and see what happens. Do what Denise did. It's easy to do. Just get some rice, cook it, yell at some of it, hate some of it, ignore some of it, and love on some of the other stuff. And see what happens. I think you'll know what happens, because Denise did it, and that's what happened. So next week, we have a number of guests lined up. If you sign up for my email at BibleNewsRadio.com, you will know who those people are, because that's where I'm going to tell you about it. So go over there, people. Remember, be bold, stand up and go with God because he loves you. And we'll see you on Bullhorn and next week right here on all of our live streaming platforms.